The voter registration weekend is in full swing across the country. The DA is urging people to go out in their numbers to register and participate in democracy. The party launched its voter registration campaign under the slogan, Register to Rescue SA. Let's bring in the DA national spokesperson, Soli Malatsi now, and the DA KZN leader, Francois Rodgers, to join us and give us a sense of what's happening on the ground. Good afternoon, Francois and Soli. I'll start with you, Soli. How have things been going on the ground today, and what campaign drive have you undertaken as the DA ahead of this weekend?
Thanks very much, Clement, and greetings to the viewers and my leader from KZN, Francois. Look, from our side, the focus has been on making sure that today we are visible on the ground across all majority of voting stations, whether it's in Limpopo, it's in KZN, and all over, so that we can infuse our own voters and potential DA voters to come out and register to vote and make sure that they are registered properly. The upcoming election is quite an important election. And that is why we've framed our campaign, around rescuing South Africa, because our country is at a very critical moment that if there is no change of government in the upcoming elections, we might not have that opportunity to salvage whatever is left of our country. So our campaign has been driven largely on ensuring that, we put the focus on corruption, on unemployment, on crime, because these are the key issues that affect South Africans across the board. But most importantly, positioning ourselves as a party of solutions beyond just being in opposition, but showcasing that in areas where we govern, for instance, in those key areas, we have made major inroads. And that now, more than ever, it's about galvanizing all those South Africans, particularly, the first-time voters who've got an important role to play in this election. If you remember statistically in the last election, the number of people who were eligible to vote but did not vote were more than those who turned up to vote. So it's quite important that as a political party, we can take our message to South Africans across the board and mobilize them around our vision, because it is one that we believe is better suited to rescue South Africa at this stage. So we've got our leader, John Steenhuisen, in KZN. Today, we've got our provincial leaders across all the provinces being on the ground, leading the campaigns and the visits to communities and voting stations, and our operations also at the federal head office, which is where I am, where we've got, our teams taking calls from the public and also calling people that we have canvassed previously to make sure that, one, they go to the closest voting station in their communities to register, and secondly, to make sure that they are registered properly.
Okay. And Francois, interesting choice, I suppose, for John Steenhuisen to spend some time today in KwaZulu-Natal. The EFF leader is in Soweto, in Gauteng. Cyril Ramaphosa, the president, also in Soweto, which perhaps gives you a sense of the strategy of these two parties and why they're prioritizing the province. Is that the reason why John Steenhuisen is in KwaZulu-Natal, because you want to maximize on your chances for next year?
Good afternoon, Clement, and good afternoon to the viewers and to my good friend Soli at our head office. Look, John Steenhuisen was here. I'm currently still at the VD where John was earlier at Northwood Boys. And one of the reasons John came here, obviously he's registered at this particular voting station, and also his daughter will be voting for the very first time next year. So it was a special occasion for John and his eldest daughter who were here to register. And I think that's encouraging. We keep saying that the youth need to get involved. And of course, we appeal on that. Now, KwaZulu-Natal, and particularly eThekwini, where we're standing now, the northern parts of eThekwini, and I'm talking about some parts of Mhlanga, I'm talking about Phoenix, Verulam, Tongaat. These are the areas that have been hardest hit when it comes to continuous water outages and continuous electrical outages. And, quite honestly, if people want to change and they want to see effective service delivery, then what it's going to take is a change of government. And you can't change the government if you're not registered to vote, number one. And then number two, you're given that opportunity in 2024. we're excited about KwaZulu-Natal. We're excited about what's happening at the polling that we're starting to get. It's putting the ANC at well below 40% in the province. And as you well know, we have a cooperation agreement with the IFP where we co-govern, and that's something that we're working towards 2024 to bring in a new government so that we can change cities like eThekwini and the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, if we're elected to government, the first thing we'll do in a city like eThekwini is place it under administration, make sure that we've got an administrator that understands what the challenges are, not a comrade and not a cadre that we're going to put in there, and ensure that there's necessary skills, engineers, and those skilled people that is so desperately needed to deal with the issues and the challenges that face the city of eThekwini and the province in general.
Yeah. Solly, I'm not sure if you're aware of a complaint that has been laid by the Al Jamaa party. They've laid a complaint to the IEC and to the police. They're claiming that there are some DA members that are hijacking prospective voters before they enter voting stations in Cape Town. They're taking their details and sending them home. So these people are required to state whether they will vote for the DA, and those who make it into the voting stations are confronted outside. Are you aware of this complaint as the DA that Al Jamaa says it's officially laid with the IEC and the police? And what do you expect of your members who are out representing you at various voting stations?
I'm not aware of the complaint. It hasn't been brought to my attention. We should be having a meeting with our team around, just around like 2 o'clock to touch base with developments on the ground about what is happening there. But this is how our teams are positioned outside voting stations. They are positioned outside voting stations in order to be there as a resource that is available for voters who want to engage with the DA. We've got the voters' role to ensure there that they can check there whether they are properly registered and go voluntarily there. No one is coerced to come to a DA table. Secondly, nobody has the mandate to force people not to proceed into visiting any of the voting stations. So at this stage, I mean, the basis of what Al Jamaa is alleging on the surface of it just sounds uncharacteristic of what our activists would do at any voting station, but it hasn't been brought to our attention as yet. And I'll be able to verify after this interview, Clement, whether it has been brought to us in the interim and how we will handle it. But none of our teams, are briefed to turn people away from going into a voting station. In fact, many of our teams are advised and have been trained to ensure that they are of assistance to voters before entering into the voting station, to be aware of what is required inside and what they need so that their visits to voting stations are fruitful.
All right. DA National Spokesperson Solly Malatsi and DA KZN leader Francois Rodgers, thank you for joining us this afternoon.